From the Daily Beast, Fox News' Bret Baier whines about Harris after bad-tempered interview. So he didn't. I'll play the clip for you, and you can hear it for yourself.
Dana, I'll give you a little behind the scenes here. I know you love this, and it fits in with Dana reads sports. You know, when the kicker in football, they call a timeout right before he's going to kick the field goal. They're icing the kicker. So we were supposed to start at 5 p.m. This was the time they gave us. Originally, we were going to do 25 or 30 minutes. They came in and said, well, maybe 20. So it was already getting whittled down. And then the vice president showed up about 5:15. We were pushing the envelope to be able to turn it around for the top of the 6 o'clock. So that's how it started. And I could tell when we started talking that she was going to be tough to redirect without me trying to interrupt. I did this with President Obama. At one point, I just said, Mr. President, I know you like the filibuster. I just didn't even have the chance to sometimes redirect in those ways.
So I wouldn't consider that at all to be whining, but this is how the corporate press is framing this. I should say the Democrat media industrial complex. The one thing I would say on this is that, now that I think about it, Bret Baier probably should have just let her keep talking. Exactly. He should have asked her the question and then just shut up until she shut up, because then she would have spent 10 minutes saying not a single word. That would be the interview.
Mm-hmm. Also, this is one thing the media does a lot, and it's just because the left does this a lot, is they'll take words that in their estimation have been historically used to insult and dismiss women and then use them for men. So we see this like, he was whining, he was weak. In reality, when you watch that speech, Kamala Harris was very emotional and irrational. People are afraid to say that because if you're calling a woman emotional and irrational, you're a sexist. But she was. She was being very emotional the entire time. She couldn't answer a question without getting upset. She was stumbling over her words. She was clearly flustered. And you have headlines from Newsweek saying that she dominated Bret Baier in the debate. These people don't see language as something that exists to communicate truth. They see it as a tool for getting what they want.
Yeah, that's why they keep changing what words mean.
Exactly. So they're smearing Bret Baier here. He's whining, even though he's just stating the truth, giving some behind-the-scenes information about the interview. They said Kamala Harris dominated, even though it was so optically horrible that she dropped 4 points in the betting market the day after this interview. They're claiming that it was a debate when all he did was ask her very fair, very straightforward questions. He didn't dig up information about her past that she wasn't prepared to discuss. He didn't have some surprise that he was going to hit her with that she hasn't heard from some other interview. All he did was ask really basic questions that any other journalist would have asked her if she had had access to any, or more likely, I should say, if any journalist had had access to her, because she has refused to speak to anyone who won't worship at the ground that she walks on.
You're moving, you're giving her too much credit, because at first she wouldn't speak to anyone, right?
Nobody, even people friendly to her.
They were really just hoping to coast right back into the White House, or stay in the White House based on this whole vibe Bret summer thing. That's what they were really going for. And it wasn't until the end of August when finally she had to give an interview to, Dana Bash? Excuse me. And then after that, they did a couple friendlies, but they must be really desperate to go on Fox.
Very desperate.
The other tell, too, is that you don't typically see the Harris campaign leaning into the whole gender woman issue, right? They've made a purposeful attempt to stray away from that. So I think it does show you how desperate the surrogates are if they're unintentionally leaning into the gender stuff, trying to frame it as oh, man was mean to woman, it's sexism. In the same vein that I think they loved having the two female debate moderators for the VP debate. So when JD Vance tried to, talk over the, not fact check, it was a moment of, I believe as the mainstream media called it, of mansplaining. But they have this weird trope that they think that women for some reason are going to resonate with, powerful women being spoken down to by men and having to, speak back. And I don't really know who that's resonating with, except people who are squarely in the Harris camp.
I think it's resonating with people who are substantially older than Kamala Harris. I think that resonates with people in my mom's generation. My mom was a corporate attorney, and she spoke to me a lot about how difficult it was being the only woman in the firm who did the kind of work that she did, and et cetera, et cetera. But she's in her 70s. Kamala Harris is, also much older. So what is, that's not something that I think, for the most part, women of my generation or your generation or anywhere in between would really have to deal with. That's not something we've had to deal with.
No, it's too much the opposite.
Yeah,
We're too empowered.
Exactly. Well,
Exactly.
that speaks to a point that I want to make here, and this is probably going to be considered an offensive point by many people, but I don't care because it's obviously true, and anyone who claims it isn't is either lying or lying to themselves. But while it is true that women don't want to be necessarily bossed around and told what to do by men, what women really, really, really don't want is to be told what to do by other women. Women do not like being bossed around by another woman. If your wife or girlfriend or mother or any woman you've been close to has worked in an office with a female boss or female coworkers, they will express to you their displeasure in being told what to do by these other women. So when Kamala Harris is condescending and talks down to men, women don't see that and go, oh, 1 point for team woman. They look at that and they say, that's how this woman is going to be talking to me as a citizen for the next 4 years if she's president of the United States. And as it turns out, women don't like being condescended to and spoken down to
no
by
one
other
wants
women.
it. No
Do
one
you
wants
think
a
that
wicked
there's
stepmother
like
for
an inherent
president
thing?
either.
Exactly.
Do you think there's an inherent thing that men and women both have where they're just predisposed to prefer listening to men over women?
Yeah, absolutely.
Ladies, what do you think?
I don't think so. No.
I find most women broadcasters kind of annoying, which I'm aware is hypocritical.
But I mean leadership positions like
I have a theory.
there was
I think it's maybe more derived from people who aren't deserving of their leadership position. And I think there are more women who are in leadership positions that don't necessarily deserve those roles. They got their own sort of false pretenses, where I think if you're, a straight white dude, you had to work 10 times as hard to get there.
I mean, think about like Tulsi Gabbard. Like, would we be having these kinds of conversations about Tulsi Gabbard leading the country? I don't think so.
Well, she's also not shrill and condescending.
I would be.
Kamala Harris.
I kind of
So
think
it's not
she is, but-
I don't think it's.
Yeah, totally.
I don't think it's.
You're just sexist.
Well, she's coming for your guns. I don't know. I don't
Fair.
understand this like fetishization we have with Tulsi Gabbard, especially on the right. When at the base of it, so many of the
her gun position that you're citing like 4 years old.
does she not believe in the gun position anymore?
Yeah, not anymore.
What is her current
Like
gun
2 or
position?
3 years ago, she came out saying that she was wrong on the issue and she was like doing some kind of 2A thing.
Okay, well, I disagree
like
with her on more than just that issue, but I think on the right generally we're too quick to go with somebody who, hey, they wanted to come for all your guns 4 years ago. We support them more than we do somebody who said, hey, I don't want to come for your guns ever for the past couple of decades. But
Hey, no, I actually think
the
that's
redemption
fair.
idea, we love that on the right. This idea of
But
redemption.
I agree,
The question
but-
of whether or not someone would be willing to vote for a woman has nothing to do with if Kamala or Tulsi. The question is, I think it's a fact that there are a lot of guys and women in this country who would not vote for a woman no matter who it was.
I think that's.
I think that's
and the
true.
fact that Harris is not endorsed or accepting or making the female part of her identity a big part of her
Right.
campaign. She never talks about it. She never wears dresses. She's always dressed like a dude. You could barely tell, like based off, I think, of her mannerisms and a lot of the way that she acts, that she's going out of her way. Frankly, she almost comes off as like gender neutral. Like it's a weird
Right, because
spin.
on top of everything else, the pantsuits are beige.
I
really ugly.
Yeah.
I really do think gender dynamics play a role in as such that we do not have the sales development for how a woman needs to be publicly loved like a Donald Trump figure. So let me elaborate. We have had generations upon generations of male presidential candidates and how they need to act to win favor. We have not had that for female candidates. I believe it is possible, but when they send out Kamala and tell her to act like a man, it does not work. When AOC went up at a rally and she was screaming and yelling and hooting, she got made fun of for it. Now, for sure, you could be like, what was that, Howard Dean or whatever, who did the yeehaw?
Whoop.
Yeah, the
Yop.
whoop. Yeah, whatever that
It was a
That-
yop. It was the
and
Howard
that-
Dean yop.
Over.
That ended
Forever.
his career.
Yeah.
Just done.
So anybody can act bad on stage.
Don't say
but
yop.
If I think it is fair that if you look at Kamala and you look at Hillary, they laugh all the time, and I think it's because they're focus groups or whatever. They're like, you can't be stern like a man. You have to laugh all the time, and that's why the two major female contenders we've had in the past, in ever actually, have a laughing problem. I think they're being told to do it.
I also think maybe they don't understand femininity in the same way that you see how they project what masculinity is. I think most evidenced by that recent ad they put out, right? They can't put their finger on the pulse of what it means. It's this distorted sense of it. I think there's this kind of similar perversion in terms of their understanding of womanhood, girlhood, whatever you want to call it. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll add this too. So my theory on this, because men constantly complain that people don't listen to men, women constantly complain that people don't listen to women. My theory is it's true and false in different contexts. So I believe that women are listened to when they complain. They're not often listened to when they offer solutions. I think men are not listened to when they complain, but they are listened to when they offer solutions. So when a woman is complaining, and a man who complains isn't heard, he'll go, no one ever listens to us, right? But when he starts offering solutions, he's actually more likely to be listened to. And I think that's built into our nature as humans.
What about somebody like, putting her policies aside? What about someone with the demeanor of like Condoleezza Rice?
It's been so long.
Do you mean what people will men vote for her?
Yeah, would men vote for Condoleezza
No.
Rice? She is a totally different vibe than either Kamala Harris.
I supported
Hillary
Tulsi
Clinton.
Gabbard in 2019. I thought she was the best the Democrats had to offer, and I want to see someone with a military background as commander-in-chief, as they're the commander-in-chief and chief diplomat. But I can respect Donald Trump trade and negotiation skills too. That's good, but I would prefer someone who served in the military, as Tulsi has. Condoleezza, but regardless of all of that, I still believe that there's a large portion of this country that are going to be like, I ain't voting for a woman, no matter what. And I think it transcends age and demographic.
Consciously or subconsciously?
Consciously. Like, I can't remember who we
no
were
one
talking
wants to vote for their mom to be president.
Who were we talking to? Do you guys remember? They said that they were doing man on the street interviews, talking to young black men, asked them, who are you voting for? They said,
Was it Don Lemon? Don Lemon was doing this.
well, he's degrading them. But
Right.
what I heard is, actually, maybe I might have been talking to Lisa about this. These young men are like, I'm voting for Trump. And it's like, why is that voting for Trump? I don't want a woman president. Mm-hmm. That was it. That was the reason. And if you look at stereotypes and tropes, I just think that there's going to be a lot of guys who are going to be like, no way. Not going to
you
happen.
think that's an American thing? Because
No, I think it's a gender thing. I don't think it
in
matters
the
where it comes
UK,
from.
there was Margaret Thatcher, and she had a lot of.
Did they vote directly for Margaret Thatcher, or did they vote for the party and the party
they
appointed
vote for
her?
the party.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about Indira Gandhi? Wasn't she voted for, or was that like?
I'm not saying there will
India's
never
where
be a
everything's
female leader.
voted
There are many female leaders all
No,
over
I'm
the place.
just curious about
I'm saying that there's a portion of the population, and it's probably transcending culture, that don't want to vote for women.
That's interesting.
So, and it's funny because this is actually a leftist opinion, though the left gets mad at me for saying it. Women presume men to be in leadership roles. Women will vote for a man. Men presume women not to be in leadership roles. Some of them will still vote for women, but a lot won't. And I think the best example of this is, if what I was saying is wrong, the Harris campaign and her allies would not have invested so much in making multiple, I'm a man, so I'm voting for a woman, you should too, ads. What do they have, 3 or 4 of them now?
Well, and yeah, not just them, but like super PACs that are,
Exactly.
working for the campaign,
They
basically.
know that there's a problem with men who will not vote for a woman. So they're trying to run ads where it's like, I'm a man and I'm not scared of a woman, so I'm going to vote for one. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.